10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I think we are live.
Hello and welcome to another RichAlvarez stream. I think it's been several weeks since the last RichAlvarez stream. Have we even streamed since?
It's been a long time.
Sack Anime? Or
that might have been it.
Well, a lot of things have been happening in the world of Rich and Chris, and none of them are exciting enough to bring up in this video. So we are just going to get right to the chase here. We have an exciting guest and an exciting premise for today's video. I'm going to let Chris explain because this person that we're about to interview is very near and dear to Chris's heart, and it's something of a personal relationship. So
all right,
go at it.
So to start off, this is Dominic. He is my cousin. Welcome, Dominic. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Glad to be here.
So for those who don't know, we've got some deep lore, some deep RichAlvarez lore and deep Dominic lore. So I've, of course, known Dominic my whole life because he's my cousin and he's basically the older brother I never had. So we got a pretty good relationship. Dominic actually helped us quite a bit in some of our videos over the years. And we're going to show you some of them as we go through. But
just in case you forgot,
to give you guys the premise of what we're going to cover today in the stream, we're going to start off by sharing the Dominic lore of how he's helped us over the years. And then the main thing we want to cover is Dominic is working on a really, really cool project. He has a gaming studio called Something Nerdy Studios, where Dominic and his friend Jared are working on a retro video game. And this is kind of unique for us because Rich and I have never interviewed somebody who created we've
actually interviewed many people that have created video games, Chris.
We've never interviewed somebody.
But we've never done it before the game came out. No, yes, we have. But
you know what? Actually, that's a really good point.
But we never interviewed someone who has made a game that it hasn't come out yet, who's also your cousin before.
That's
so
true.
You know, Rich totally saved me on that one. I am very much appreciative. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Rich, for saving me. So anyway, the reason that this stream is going to be interesting is because if any of you have ever thought about making a video game yourself, or if you're just curious what goes into the process of making a video game, Dominic's going to have a lot of insight for you. So it should be a very interesting call. We've got a trailer we're going to watch. They've already got a Kickstarter up. We've got some cool footage, some interesting pictures and art assets. So it should be a very, very interesting stream. Yeah. So before we dive in, I did want to give a shout out to everybody who jumped in so far. So welcome to Sam, Son Goku, Tim Rogers, Brandon, and Son of a Sith. I can't even talk right.
Son of a Sith.
Of a Sith.
And Sam says, can't wait for the sequel, Ladder Dawn. We're waiting already.
So anyway, without further ado, before we jump in to talk about this game, I want to talk about the lore. So if you guys are wondering, when did Dominic first help us with a video? We got to take
Chris
a time
isn't talking about the lore of former.
No, not of the game.
We're talking about the lore of our friendship. So way back. Hold on, I'm gonna do a screen share thing here. So
you know, Chris, when it's real life, it's just history. It's not lore.
So if you guys look way back in 2009, you may remember there was a film that came out called Bruno. So we're going to watch this old YouTube news clip. It's only 1 minute and 40 seconds. So this was Dominic's first appearance on the channel.
YouTube news, where the news comes last and the weather comes later.
Hello and welcome to the 357 YouTube news at 0 Dark 100. I'm
Richard! Why do people park in a driveway and drive in a parkway?
Hey, Austin, could you by chance be an idiot?
That is it. I quit.
No, you don't.
Okay.
Well, actually, Austin, they call it a parkway because...
Shut up! God, I'm surrounded by idiots. And who is this?
I'm the Pont de la Pure.
Bless you.
That is my name, you silly cow.
What are you doing in here?
Oh, you do not know? We have purchased these facilities and are kicking you out.
What? On what grounds?
Why, on the grounds you are standing on, silly. Okay, guys, bring him in.
Hey, where do you want this? What the hell is going on?
We are turning it into an art house.
An art house? What?
Bye.
Oh, what? You can't do this to me!
Oh,
Ciao!
Yeah, the kitty cat over
Get
here.
off of me!
Can you switch these?
You're done.
Beautiful. Oh, perfect.
You can't do this to me! I'm a respected businessman! You can't do this! Ah!
Please subscribe. It's free and
I love about that is just that the best part of that video is obviously Dominic's performance as weird art house dealer. The rest of us are like tired or something. I swear to God, just like like there's no point to this video other than showing off Dominic's amazing character.
I don't even know his name. Remy Le Pew or something?
Better to pee. On the grounds you are standing on, silly. That's a great line.
That was really good.
I think that God, it's so hard for me to watch older videos sometimes because I'm watching.
You're
the
criticizing
cuts.
how it looked back then.
Well,
yeah.
no, the way that it looks is fine, but I'm in my mind, I'm like, oh, if I had this today, I would overlap that audio a little bit better. There's a lot of dead time in between lines. I edit so much faster now than I do back then. Things that would be 20 seconds shorter today.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All good. So that was Dominic's first video on the channel. The next thing I wanted to mention, and I don't think I can play this because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but I'll show you the video here.
A copyright strike from ourselves?
No, from the audio.
The audio.
So this was the Harlem Shake video that we did. Now, this is actually a pretty cool story because, again, this is 2013, a long ass time ago. We got 1.7 million views. I think it's worth sharing because I don't know if we ever gave you, Dominic, credit for coming up with this. So I'll set the stage and then you can chime in if I'm missing anything. So there was a year where me and Rich and Dominic were all living in an apartment together.
This one, in fact,
we're cranking out videos left and right. Dominic was very, very instrumental to helping us behind the scenes with editing, with music, and with ideas. And this was probably one of his best ones. So here's what I remember. Rich and I were having a lazy morning, sleeping in, and Dominic just busts into the room and says, guys, I have an idea. Don't ask any questions. Just do exactly what I say. And we were like, oh, okay. So he's like, I'm going to play a song and you just need to dance. And then we're going to have this goofy ending and just trust me on it. So we were like, wait, what? I haven't even heard of this. What's the Harlem Shake? I don't get it. Anyway, long story short, we made this video per Dominic's suggestion. And we were probably one of the first, I would say 10 people in the entire world to make a Harlem Shake video. Because this was on a Thursday. I think Harlem Shake dropped on Wednesday. That's when the first two videos hit Reddit. Mm-hmm. We did ours on Thursday, and then most people made theirs on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday that weekend.
Yeah, that weekend.
So because we were ahead of the curve per Dominic's suggestion, in a whole bunch of the top 10 best Harlem Shake compilations, our video was there. We were on Good Morning America, which then they showed that clip on the Jay Leno show. Bauer, the guy who made this song, posted out on his Tumblr his favorite videos, and ours was featured. So it blew up. So Dominic very much had a pulse on the memes and what was popular. And yeah, thanks for helping us get 1.5 million views on a video.
On a day's work.
And now we'll help you get more people interested in your game.
Exactly. We're paying it forward. So the last one I wanted to mention that was also really important is during this era of our call it the meme arc of the Rich Alvarez channel.
The meme era.
If you look down on this video on the not the Harlem Shake, the Gangnam Style, it says Nintendo themed music video parody, music recreated by Dominic Muller. So Dominic is also a musical genius. And we needed karaoke tracks that wouldn't be copyright claimed so we could get them for fair use. So Dominic recreated the music in some kind of audio tool. And
Fruity Loops.
There it is.
Yeah,
I forgot which one it was. Yeah. You
that was all the rage for us.
And in addition, you were behind the camera. So we had just gotten this brand new camera because we were using a Sony camcorder, and then we upgraded to a DSLR. It was a Canon Rebel Mark III T3, I forget. Anyway, it was a Canon DSLR. Dominic was behind the camera, and also Dominic helped with the editing on this and was very instrumental into the behind the scenes post-production. So long story short, if you guys remember a lot of our super memeified videos from 2012 to 2013, Dominic was there living with us behind the scenes, cranking out a lot of great content. So we want to give you credit for helping to get some of our most viral videos out there. Anyway, that's my my Dominic Rich Alvarez lore. Do you have anything?
History, Chris. That's the Rich Alvarez Dominic history.
The Rich Alvarez Dominic history.
It's funny. I got a text from Sam that she loves my code. It's like, Chris, when it's real life, it's not lore, it's history. kind of reminds me of the, Chris, when you're rich, you're not crazy. You're eccentric.
Smallville, right?
That was from Smallville.
Geez, that's a crazy.
Great quote, though.
Anyway, so that's the intro. So now that I have given you guys a little bit of insight into how awesome Dominic is, how helpful he's been with the channel, I guess one last thing I want to mention is growing up, I was a Nintendo fan, but Dominic was actually pretty instrumental in getting me into a few video game series. Like Dominic, I don't know if you remember this, but you're the one that suggested I get Animal Crossing on the GameCube. You used to let me borrow your strategy guides. Like when Pokemon came out, you gave me your Pokemon Yellow strategy guide for the Game Boy, and we're like,
and when I got them back, those pages ripped out, and
yeah, we're not gonna talk about that part. Anyway, so over the years, we've had like a pretty tight friendship based on our love of all things Nintendo. And of course, then Dominic helped us with the videos. So now, years later, Dominic is all grown up and on quite the epic adventure. And that's the main thing we're going to talk about. So to transition into this next segment where we talk about your project, before we even dive into it, should I just watch the trailer and then we can go from there? Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So give me one moment to get this queued up.
Hey.
All right. So we're just going to watch the trailer, and then after that, we'll comment on it. I think you guys are going to get quite a kick out of this. Oh, wait, there's more. I forgot. Did not want to miss that last part.
And now in widescreen. I love it so much. Chris really wanted me to say this joke I was saying earlier when we were watching the trailer where I said, from the guys who watched another guy play Chrono Trigger.
I did like that. We were doing a test stream and Rich was just riffing. I was like, it sounds like honest trailers.
Before we let Dominic deep dive into the development process of this game, I just got to say what I love most about this trailer is it looks like if I didn't know that this was a new game, I'd be like, oh, what? I must have played this, right? Because this is exactly the kind of game that I played when I was younger. I mean, I love Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger. I think everybody who's a fan of this channel must know that by now, unless you've just not been listening to anything I've been saying for the last, 20 years or whatever. But, it just looks so good. It looks like it looks like you set out to do exactly what you wanted, which was like the most detailed and awesome version of a NES RPG. And I just love like you see the little snake go weep, and everything like that. Cause like Final Fantasy used to just use like the static images, and it was like, and then the characters would be like, doop, and you guys you've made it look so visually appealing, and yet still, and you're going to talk about this, I'm sure, you've made it so this is playable on an actual NES. So I'm gonna unless Chris, you have anything else to add before we let Dominic go? I think
that was a great point. I there's a lot in there that we're going to kind of expand on just to realize how far they've pushed like the graphical limitations. But like Rich said, this is a game that is designed to be played on an original NES. If you have the special adapter where you have the cartridge that you can pop an SD card into or whatever, but it can be played on an original Nintendo Entertainment System and also on PC if you want to play it on PC.
And we are producing actual cartridges on their own.
Yeah.
Awesome. So okay, I didn't realize that. So you can just order a cartridge from. Okay, perfect.
I'm getting one.
That's on the Kickstarter. Yeah.
Nice. So next up, Dominic, did you want to do a screen share and maybe walk us through some art and some stuff on your end? I mean, I've got plenty of questions to ask you, or I could pull something up, or do you want to just chat for a bit?
Let's just chat for a little bit more, and also kind of lead into that. I'll keep the technical stuff for a little bit later.
Sure. So I guess to start off, let's go back to the beginning. What was the process of maybe you can just like, how did you come up with this idea? Who are you partnering with? What was the inspiration? So take us back to 5 years ago or longer when you decided you wanted to make a video game.
So the design of the game is actually the co-owner of Something Nerdy, Jared Hoig, and he's the creative mind behind Former Dawn, but our impetus for making any game was to just get together and make a game for the Nintendo originally. And this is back in 2018 where we were just kind of floating the idea, and I sat down and I was like, is it that hard to just get something running? Like just got something moving around. And it turned out it wasn't that difficult. It was a little intimidating, right? Because of all the low end code you have to be writing. It's not the normal modern programming. But once you get over that little barrier, it's not too bad. You figure out how to get stuff into memory and show things on the screen and move the camera around. And it didn't take long before Jared was gung-ho to just make a full game. And his dream was to have a game where you have access to just a ton of data so that the world can be very, very large and expansive, right? And very rich, and unlike normal NES games, right? More like Super Nintendo or later, or some of the 2D games for PS1, right? Like Symphony of the Night or something, right? And awesome. Some of those rich, just giant games, and something that the modern indie game sort of sphere has tried to capture as well, right? Because there's a lot of pixel art games out there, and trying to be very nostalgic, some darlings like Shovel Knight, right? For example, to capture a lot of the limitations and the aesthetics of these old systems. And so we're like, well, why don't we just make the game for an old system, but make it big enough to genuinely be a full game even today, right? And that's been our driving goal for the whole project, and even more so for Jared. And but the story of the game itself and all the characters and everything is all Jared. And it's come out of just this desire to not only tell a story, but also make a real thing for this old system and push it to its limits as much as possible.
Yeah, that was a great overview. And over the years, we've had phone calls where you've talked to me about it. And one of the things that really stood out to me was you talking about how the NES has some limitations, and then there might even be ways to push it beyond what it once thought was its limitations. Like the premise is, how far can you push the NES to start to look like a Super Nintendo game? Like, what are the ways we can really push this to its limits? Like, what if you had a game that really was like actually using the NES to go as far as it could graphically, with music, with colors? I'm sure we'll get more into that in a bit, but that's what's so cool about this trailer. If you were to send that to somebody and you said, what do you think this is for, the Super Nintendo or the NES, you might not actually be sure. You might be like, it kind of looks like a Super Nintendo game. It looks a little advanced for an NES game. So
the only thing that gives it away as an NES game really is some of the coloring, because the Super NES had a lot more depth to its like colors, and this looks like the best possible NES game, but still there's just a few things that kind of give it away that it is NES. And probably me and like 5 other people on the planet could tell you that.
But it's the thing is though, and we'll go into this. It looks like the best NES game you've ever played because it's pushed to the limit, especially with a lot of the stuff here. So basically, it sounds like you and Jared are like a dynamic duo, and you had this idea. You wanted to make a retro game, tap into some of the nostalgia. Are there any, this would be a good question for you. Are there any games that you guys were inspired by? Like if you were to say this is similar to, I mean, Rich made the joke about Chrono Trigger, but what would you say?
That's one of the main inspirations.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be your Chrono Triggers, your Final Fantasies, and Breath of Fire is another big element of the inspirations behind Former Dawn, as well as just traditional sci-fi, like Star Wars type science fiction, not necessarily the fantasy elements. And this is something that Jared is very important to Jared, is that this is there's no magic in this game. Mm-hmm. Anything that stands in for magic is actually really scientifically explained in the lore of the game.
Love it.
Full Metal Alchemist. it's
exactly
not magic, it's science.
Or any science fiction, Chris.
Right. Any science fiction property.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Sure.
Like Star Trek is more sci-fi than Star Wars, right? Because Star Wars has this mystical element, right? Although Full Metal Alchemist, I guess, still has the gods, but who knows how detailed that is. But yeah, so it's very sci-fi, and you see that in the trailer here and there, where it looks like somebody's going up to some kind of like a computer terminal, and then there's another element, Fantasy Star for a lot of storytelling things. And so Jared always wanted this deep, rich, good story, and seeing these pop up on the screen as it and have it be compelling in a way that is grounded and really actually is glued, where the story is glued to the world and the environment, right? So they're not really separable, and Former Dawn itself is very, to me it's very compelling as a story, which of course we don't tell in the trailer, but you can't really get much there. But the was inspirations, so a lot of those inspirations from Chrono Trigger, mechanically, things like Final Fantasy and Breath of Fire, right, are some of the mainstays, and then Hero's Journey-esque sci-fi stories like Star Wars for a lot of compelling stuff there.
So my next question is, what goes into making a video game? Because I think anybody who has played games might have at one point in their life thought, if I won the lottery, or if I suddenly then
I would hire a team to make a video.
or if I had a bunch of really smart, talented friends and we wanted to scrap something together, I want to make a video game. So you're effectively kind of living out the millennial dream. But I imagine, like many dreams, there's probably a lot of challenges. So maybe you could kind of walk us through, when you decide you want to make a video game with your best buds, what do you do? What's the first step? How, did you guys start to hire out a team? How many people did you have to collaborate with? Walk us kind of through the production of what you had to do and what some of the challenges were.
So Jared and I are primarily computer programmers, and so we had an in, so to speak, to making games because of that skill set. So we were very used to building and compiling programs and writing code and getting stuff on the screen of our own making and things like that. So that part of it came sort of, I don't say naturally, but it's a part of our skill set. Game development at large is obviously a very, very broad subject. And the way I see it in general is game development is as complicated as you want it to be, right? If you set out to make something simple, then you can make that simple thing. If you set out to make something complicated, then that's all of the things that you've set forward for yourself, right? Set in front of yourself as obstacles. And we didn't really get other people involved for at least a little bit, because actually at the very beginning there were we tried to get Jared's brother involved, and there was some back and forth there. But we've gone through several artists to really find a core team now, where we have an animator, a background artist, and we have programmer, the designer, and then a musician, which is Haydon, and Angus, and he did almost all the music. The trailer music was Sean. I need to get his name, but I'll come back.
It
to
was
that later.
good music. I was very impressed.
And so to make a video game, it's just as complicated as you want to make it. So we went in with Jared, more so than I, went in with a very high level of complexity that he wanted for this game. And so we've strived our best to sit down and make everything that we need to do. And along the way, we've had to tackle some incredibly horrifically difficult problems.
I believe
because of just getting something, even just getting a normal game on the NES is hard enough, but we've made the problem even harder for ourselves, where we've also designed extra hardware that we have to target in order to put artwork that no one's made before and create tooling around that in order to deconstruct it properly, and all these things. And so if you want to get into game development, you can. Just know that the more complicated you make it, the more obstacles you're setting out for yourself, is what I'd say. Yeah.
That makes sense. And I saw somebody in the comments say Sean Bialo. Was that the okay, I'll put that up there. Thank you, Aquish. I don't know if that's one of your buddies from the Discord.
That's true.
Oh, cool. Hey, nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping in.
Aquashix. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So next up, one of the most, I would say, impressive things about this game is all of the art. So I don't know if you're good to transition, but I would love to show off some of the art of the game, some of the tests you've done. So did you want me to do a screen share? Or did you want to do one?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
cool. So give me a second here, guys. I need to pull up their website. I'd like you guys to see a lot of this. Okay, perfect. We're just going to go to the website here first. And I've got this so we can all see. Okay, so check this out. So if you guys go to somethingnerdy.com, this is what it looks like. So again, it's going to be on Steam, so you can play it on PC, but you can also play it on an NES cartridge.
I love it, just like Steam plus NES cartridge.
So, I mean, it looks great. You guys did a good job on the logo. The main thing I wanted to do, though, is I wanted to go to the art here. So the concept art looks really cool. It looks like this guy here is the main character. What can you tell us about this dude?
So Jeku is a hunter and a hobbyist, a botanist / sort of scientist, in the sense of he likes to investigate the world and learn about nature and things like that. And he's at odds with in the society in which he lives. There's the top level sort of authority is called the organization, and he's at odds with them, so to speak, because number one, he is a member of the organization at a very low level, but in the organization, you're not allowed to do certain things. Like, you're not allowed to make certain kinds of inventions. They try to keep scientific knowledge suppressed in certain ways. It's kind of a mystic cult kind of society, or at least the authority is. And but he's trying to do things like build a microscope, and you're not allowed to do that kind of thing. So he's kind of a rabble rouser going around and trying to learn about the world and things. And he lives in a town that's relatively on the outskirts, out in the sticks, so he can kind of get away with doing his own thing. But yeah, he is a very keen mind. He's trying to learn about the world around him, and he just always kind of feels like there's some mismatch in nature. He kind of sees aspects of things in the world that don't match between people and certain kinds of animals in the world, and he's like, these don't make sense together, and there's reasons for it, of course, and I could go into detail later, but that's sort of the beginning of his sort of foray into science and skepticism and trying to learn about the world.
I love it. He's an archer, but also, botanist, scientist.
I just want to go through some of yeah, talk about this character, because this looks really cool.
Giant asparagus coming out of the ground.
To my understanding, those are Durple trees, and Durples are the little
trees,
the purple birds. So at least they're Durple tree sprouts. This is Ava, and she is a fairly high member of the organization, and she is a why am I blanking on this? Oh no, what's her role? What's her?
It's a spoiler, so you should get the game if you want to know. There you go. I just
fair enough.
Recover it.
And so she does high level interviews with people to sort of prosecutorial sort of thing, where she's trying to figure out what people are doing wrong, sort of thing, right?
Here we go.
I think she's a persuader. Yes.
Thank you, Seven Nerdy Studios. Good assist.
I need more live, more knowledge.
So because you showed us a couple of little demos of the animation earlier before the stream.
There's a bunch of these. In fact, let me go down to those.
So is it that you can decide which character that you want to be, or do you switch characters as the game goes on? Because see, look at this. Obviously, she's a playable character.
Right. Yeah. It's throughout the story. Throughout the story, you gain access to different characters, and they join your party and sometimes leave. And
that is an awesome walk cycle. That's the best looking NES walk cycle I've ever seen.
One of those things I actually wanted to ask you. So, as somebody who didn't know that much, and this might seem simple, but Dominic, can you explain what you were talking about how the typical animation and what's unique about this? How many, you know what I'm talking about? What makes this unique?
Very, very, very often in pixel art games, even modern indie games, the walk cycles are in animation things that are repeated, like walking and running, tend to be 4, maybe 6 frames of animation, and so they're somewhat choppy. But it's if it's all the way down to 2 frames sometimes, but those are usually more like maybe that's something like not Deltarune, Undertale, right? Might have like a 2-frame kind of thing where it's kind of their vibe. But we've gone for a much richer internal, and Jared has a very high standard for all these characters to make sure that they have very fluid animations. And I've had to build all the tooling to make sure to be able to support getting these into the game and display them on the screen as the game's running. And it's just it comes out as a very fluid game experience, right?
I'm really impressed. I would say that this looks better than most, if not all, walk cycles I've seen in a Super NES game. I mean, like you mentioned Symphony of the Night earlier, that's what this kind of reminds me of, is that fluid, like jogging motion,
Right. And that was one of the main inspirations for, like, why not animate this much in this way, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously Symphony of the Night has a little bit easier time because they're a platformer, and so it's a 2D side scroller, so they don't have to animate in all 8 directions. So one of the more expensive parts of this project is hiring animators to animate all the characters in 8 directions. All 8 directions, not just 4, which is again another difference between this and a lot of other pixel art games. They'll stick to 4 directions.
That's what blew me away, because when you were explaining that, it's like a subtle thing. It's like most games only show 4 directions. You guys went the extra mile to show 8, and oh nice, we got Squiggles in our chat here. This is one of our biggest fans and one of our moderators, Cody. His name's Cody. I'm glad you jumped in. I think you'll find this amazing. This is a really cool game. Anyway, but great job on the pixel art. I'm just you guys did an amazing job with the team you assembled here.
And by the way, Chris, Symphony of the Night is a PS1 game, so like that's what this is looking like.
I see what you're saying. So not NES, not Super Nintendo. We're on PlayStation 1, so it's a PlayStation 1 game.
It looks as impressive as the motion
PS1.
in Symphony of the Night on PS1.
So next up, you guys did some amazing, like art on I guess the background and the worlds here. I want to get to some of the what was the oh god. You know what? Actually, here's what I think I want to do. I want to pull your Twitter up because you guys have some really good clips on your Twitter channel. And just kind of go through some of the media here. Because guys, this game looks amazing. Like,
by the way, if you're coming in for the first time right now, such as Cody here, I want to remind everybody that that the studios here, Something Nerdy Studios, gave themselves a limitation on this game, which is that it had to be playable on a Nintendo Entertainment System and was coded in the original NES game code. So this is not like, oh, we started with NES and then we made it better. No, this is the best an NES game can possibly be using the original code made for an NES. So if it looks more impressive than an NES game to you, it's because the goal was to really push the limits.
This scene here, by the way, was one of my favorite clips from the trailer. Could you talk a little bit about this hoverboot, whatever this is? Because this was awesome.
They do work over water. Back to the Future joke? No, okay.
I was distracted by the pretty pixel art.
Those will work on water unless you've got power.
This is a piece of the world map, and the trick to do this was actually inspired by another demo in the NES dev scene. The NES dev scene is a very thriving development NES development scene for people who want to make retro games for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and for people who just want to make fun demos to see what the box can do. And there was a demo called the Axelay Demake. Axelay was a Super Nintendo game, like shoot 'em up kind of game where you're flying around the world, and somebody demade it and did this kind of horizon effect with the world. And so we were inspired by that to take that and make it applicable to our world map here when this is much later in the game when you get these hover boots. And again, part of the science fiction aspect of Former Dawn is that these are something that you pick up later at a hidden area, right? And Jared's flipping back and forth between things there. And so the trick to do this is kind of interesting because you can just do this on a Nintendo. Like you can, because on the Nintendo, the way that rendering works for the background is that you set the camera once at the beginning of the frame for wherever you want to be, and then it'll render that. And that's like how Mario 1 works, right? Every frame it's moving the camera a little bit at a time to follow you. But what you can do is you can actually change where the camera is as it's rendering down the screen. So you can squish the graphics by like moving the camera, smearing it as it's trying to render all the graphics. We did it in an even more intelligent way by adding just a little bit of hardware and saying, oh, just put these lines here. We just map all the lines wherever they need to go, and then swap the palettes at the very top of the screen. Because one difficult thing here that the astute observer might notice is that the bottom of the screen is using all 4 of the color palettes, and the top of the screen is using one extra one for the clouds. So we actually have to swap it out, and that's why there's those horizontal bars just below his hover boots, because that's where we have to swap out all the colors, and you have to actually turn rendering off and give yourself a dead scan line to do that.
Well, it looks amazing, and I'm really impressed with this.
There's more to say about this though, because the other aspect of and one of the biggest elements of the Former Dawn tech is what are called 8x1 graphics, where you can tell each, and that you can see it here in the coast as well, that you're not beholden to the big blocks of color like in Mario 1, like the question mark block or the pipes. They're very big and blocky. In Former Dawn, we have the ability to set each 8-pixel strip to a different set of colors, and that aids in the effect of how rich the graphics are and how the scrolling effect works.
That's awesome. By the way, this clip I'm showing here, is this like a tech demo? Is this something that could be in the game? This
Yes,
looks really high-end.
it's one of our stretch goals to have FMV clips in the game.
Oh, you could do that. See, I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
So this
it.
was, yeah.
I was just gonna say it's awesome. It makes me want to like make a music video to it, you know, like you know.
I know you're getting like Take On Me vibes here. No, this is cool.
So yeah,
this is
there's
giving me Zelda vibes.
Yeah, and there's a bit of inspiration from it's called Sin City, the black and white movie with
yes.
Yeah, it's Alan. No, that's not
Frank
Alan. That's
Miller?
Frank Miller. I was going to say Alan Moore. That's a different comic book artist.
The inspiration there was to use black and it's easy because it's easy to do FMV if everything's the same palette. So we have like this base palette of gray and then flourish it with a colored sprite on top.
Yeah.
And that would be actually very, very, very straightforward to do. Yeah.
Very nice.
It's like red.
Well, that looks awesome. I mean, it's just
Snake.
like I guess I'll mention to everybody here. We put the link to their Twitter in the description of this video, so follow these guys on Twitter because like it's just so cool to see all this beautiful.
See that Snake, guys? I bet you didn't even know that the NES could do that, and I guess the programmers back then didn't know it could do that either. But of course, we're spoiled in a way because we have like the knowledge of everything before and after, whereas back then that was like the best of the best. That code was like, oh man, this is they didn't know, you know. So that, you know, if the Super NES and like the Sega Genesis, if like the 16-bit systems had never come out, let's in an alternate universe where like 8-bit is for whatever reason good as it gets, and like we had NES going into the 2000s, then of course they would have been getting better and better like this as people found ways to, you know, make them better and better. Unfortunately, the technology comes before the art, and so then we just, you know, get to cheat it.
Yeah. One thing I do want to focus on with these dialogue that you're showing here, these portraits are works of art made by Jared's wife, Haley.
Oh, nice.
And the tech behind it is to have a complete set of sprites on top of the background for each portrait so that you have these rich portraits that are just sitting where they need to sit for the one time. And again, we're doing that trick in the middle of the screen where we swap out all the colors. And that's why there's that divider bar in the middle in order to load all the extra sprites and all the extra colors when you're talking.
Really clever.
It looks amazing. I'm very, very impressed.
Even better on CRT because it kind of blends those colors together in a very smooth fashion.
I've seen that before where the CRT will. Yes.
I'm like squinting my eyes trying to
Yeah,
I see.
I mean, just look at this water here. It's really beautiful. Like you guys did a great job with the pixel artists you hired. It just looks amazing.
Yeah, this is NES Rocks or Mario. His name actually is Mario. NES Rocks on Twitter, and I think he's Brazilian or Argentinian. He's Brazilian, and he's a mainstay pixel artist in the NES dev community, and he's made quite a few. He's made quite a few contributions there. So we're lucky to have him on board as well for his tech prowess and to help with a lot of the pixel art stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is really, really cool stuff. It's just amazing. I mean, wow, look at this.
Yeah.
No, I like the what is it? The parallax. How you have all the different layers of movement here. I mean,
this one's the craziest of them all, honestly, because it's incorporating sprite overlays, mid-frame palette switches, and camera changes all at once, and on top of the graphics decomposition, and making sure you have to be very careful to make sure that everything happens exactly when it needs to. It's a very precise process.
Yeah, I mean, just again, it's just.
I love that the cave. Go back.
Oh, this one.
Look at this. I love the reds and the blues coming out there. It's
here,
awesome.
I'll reset so you can see that.
And then weird octopus monster thing.
It's called a triclaw.
Oh, triclaw. Okay, I was way off.
You were
by about 5.
Yeah, the whole thing looks really like it. Again, I look at this and I'm like amazed that you guys were able to push the NES hardware to the limit. It's just really good stuff. Man. So one of the other things I wanted to ask you about, and this is maybe getting a little too techie jargon in the weeds, but I remember you were talking about some of the color tests that you had to do. And I want to show that. I think it was Star Trek TNG. Did that come up? Okay.
You spelled Star Trek wrong. You spelled Star Tech.
Don't try and do I can't do this right.
Chris,
one more time. StarTrek TNG, right? There it is.
There it is.
Okay. So
Stars.
can you explain what you were talking about earlier about how you had to get creative to get more colors than you normally would?
Yeah. This is something that we want to make a full explanation video on, like a deep dive on exactly what we did to harness one of the biggest limitations of the NES. On the Nintendo, during normal render, you can only have 13 background colors and 12 sprite colors, and that's it. That's all you can have. And all you can do is swap between them. So like when in Mario 1, when he gets his star power and he like changes colors, they're actually just jumping between the different color sets for like he turns into a Goomba color and then he's a piranha color, and then like it's just how they did it. So other games, of course, they swap out the palettes depending on what enemy you're fighting so that they're a different color and all kinds of nice things. And so what we decided to do was employ a color blending technique to mix colors live to give access to what appear to be new colors. And you have to be very careful when you do this. And this is one of the biggest points of research that we've done. There's been a lot of research on this by us specifically. Because if you, like, for example, you can mix like blue and red together and they'll make purple, right? And you'll get a new purple that isn't really on the Nintendo. But if you try to mix like black and white to make gray, it doesn't work very well because it just kind of flickers on the screen and buzzes. This FMV on real hardware, you probably shouldn't watch it because it'll give you a headache. This one right here uses like colors that don't want to blend well together. So what we've done for the game, and we've been very careful, is to only select colors where when you blend them together, they are smooth and appear natural on the real CRT if you were to see them on an actual TV. And a big part of our tech is to select and give access to our artists just those colors without them having to think like, oh, what's red plus blue? You know, obviously they don't, red plus blue is purple, but what specific RGB value that is, right? They don't have to think about that and be like, oh, I have to constantly do this. No. They can just sit there with the palette, draw what they need to do, just like a modern pixel artist does. And then the build system turns it back down into normal NES graphics. And that's how we get a lot of those extra fancy colors in the portraits and the characters. And so you have to be very careful with this technique, because if you do it on too much of the screen, or you do it with colors where they're too disparate, like their difference in brightness is too high, it doesn't work as a trick. So we have a very, very conservative set of colors that we're allowed to use. That's one of the biggest tech elements of Former Dawn, is access to these extra colors.
Yeah, and that was what blew me away, because when you were talking about this, I remember your explanation, like dumbing it down for someone like me who doesn't know anything about programming, is that there's only certain colors you're allowed to use, but through some very clever, like pushing the limits of combining colors, you were able to get colors that normally would not be able to be used. So that's why, like, you can use, let me go back to your website. I remember you were talking about how if you look at like the purple in the foot of the main character, that's something you normally wouldn't even get if you were just a regular like developer, but you guys gave access to it. I'm going back to it so I can show it off one more time, because I just thought it was so cool. But like for, oh man, I don't even know if people are going to be able to see it, but I'll bring it up anyway. So like you were saying, basically, if you look at the like the feet, I remember you saying there's like a purple, there's a purple in here that, here we go. Like you normally even wouldn't be able to get access to that purple,
that like
right?
light magenta color in the highlights. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I thought that was so cool. Yeah, here we go. So it's little subtle things like that by pushing the color palette to the limit, you're getting access to colors that somebody back in the day, most NES games probably didn't have these shades of colors, or very few did, would be my guess.
Or if they ever generated it was on accident, because there were a lot of old games when they did sprite flicker, because when they were overloaded with sprites, the sprites would like phase out and be like there half the time. And some of those would accidentally blend with the background, but it would look all flickery and buzzy. So, but if you do it in a very careful and very precise and controlled manner, it just looks like a new color.
Yeah. Very good. Perfect. And we got an interesting question I wanted to share. Yeah. So Yuriko said, hi, I was wondering, is there any way to talk directly with someone from the team in relation to a proposal? So for business inquiries, what would you like, how should people contact the team? Where would you like to direct business proposals to?
Sure. Yeah. They can send to contact at somethingnerdy.com, or they can hop in our Discord and message one of either me or Jared. He's Jacuthiel on the Discord.
Yep. Here we go. Yep. I see it right here. So guys, if you go to their website, they've got their contact page. So you've got their email. You can, that's probably the best way to do it. And also a Discord if you guys want to hit them up there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, in terms of that, I think next I wanted to talk about your Kickstarter. So is that anything else you want to mention about the game before we transition to that?
No, I'll leave a more deep dive technical for a little bit later. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me pull that up. So of course, the most important part about making a video game is how do you fund said video game? Because obviously this takes quite a bit. So let me make sure I have the right link here. I'm just going to go to your Twitter because I know it has it there. So one moment, please. Okay, perfect. I'm just pulling this up so I got it ready to go. All right, so here is the Kickstarter. Now, you guys, very impressively, how long has the Kickstarter been up?
It was a 30-day, so it's been up for 19 days.
Got it. Okay, cool.
And you've got 2.5 weeks.
So you've got 11 days to go. What's the last day that the Kickstarter's open?
I think November 14th? No, 13th?
13th or 14th. So 11 days from today, which is November 2nd. So you guys have a very impressive, you've made it up to 107K. Your goal is 160K. Maybe what you could do is kind of talk us through some of the, the options for people that do want to support this game, like what they could get.
Right. Yeah. Now I just want to preface by saying we know that the goal is very ambitious, but it's necessary for all of the art that we need to the dense artwork that we need for all the character animations and all the worlds, which I think in the Kickstarter, as mentioned, there's going to be that's one thing I didn't get on the list for you of that there's 8 main playable characters, right, and that they all have their own tech. They have individual tech trees and things like this, as well as over 1,000 screens of things of world, right? And so all that's going to be very expensive to hire people to make, and that's what the basis of all that is. As for the rewards, it goes all the way from the basic tier. $30 gets you just the digital game, and it's going to be we're porting to the PC. I want to be clear. We're not just putting out an emulator on Steam. We're porting the game to the computer. It's a complete native game on PC, right? It's just going to be the exact same game as is on the Nintendo, plus like widescreen, and like achievements and stuff like that. But there's not going to be anything in there where it's like, 13 new cities, nothing like that, right? But yeah, so the base game is just the base digital thing, and then as you go up, you get more goodies. Various digital assets and various physical assets. Once you get up to the beginnings of the physical assets, you start to look at bare cartridges. So a cartridge is just you put it in your Nintendo and you go. And every cartridge that we supply, we're also shipping with an expansion audio bridge. Ooh. So one of the things about our game is that we have leaned pretty heavily on the expansion audio capabilities of the Nintendo, of the NES, which none of the other games originally for the NES did, because Nintendo themselves did not produce a way to unlock the expansion audio. But since then, the community has created little expansion port bridges. You plug it in, and the cartridge can supply extra music to be mixed in with the game music.
So
yeah.
Is this, for dumbing it down for someone non-techie like me, is this kind of similar to like the expansion pack on the 64 to play like Donkey Kong 64?
No, because that went into the console itself.
Except it's on, maybe a better thing would be like this. It's
the Super FX chip and the
like
Super
on the
Nintendo.
Super Nintendo.
That was in
way.
the cartridges
so,
themselves.
So
yeah.
the cartridge itself has extra hardware that lets the base console go further.
Yes.
So basically you're expanding the capability of the hardware, but doing it through the cartridge.
Yes, through the cartridge, and you also have to plug one thing in the bottom of the Nintendo to combine the pins. So it's actually both. It's actually
okay, but basically, when people order this, they get everything they need.
That's right.
To then put it in their Nintendo.
I think that's so awesome.
That's really.
It's
cool.
like it's almost like the game is not just a game; it's also like a partial like GPU.
Yeah. Oh, I want to be clear. The cartridge, we haven't done anything. We haven't like put a Raspberry Pi in there. Right, we're just giving ourselves access to a lot more memory, as if this was something with a CD-ROM add-on. That's kind of what the inspiration for what we've made. And I'll get more into this later, but apparently, we found out relatively recently there was actually a CD-ROM expansion designed for the original Nintendo by Camerica. And as many people do know, the PlayStation itself was originally a CD-ROM add-on to the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So Nintendo has not been shy to add disc expansion systems to their consoles. In fact, the original Famicom, of which the Nintendo is based, had a disc expansion system called the FDS, the Famicom Disk System. So, regarding the GPU claim, there, it's like, we're just giving extra access to the graphics chip in the Nintendo to feed it more data. We're not like, you can't put Doom on the NES with MXM, right?
Yeah.
Or anything like that. But
I see what you're saying. You can give it a little boost, but you can't turn an NES into like a 64.
Right. Not without having an extra actual computer in the cartridge, which is a whole other can of worms. And so we've limited ourselves from having raw computation available to us. But on the Super Nintendo, there were games with extra chips that did extra computation, like Super FX, right? Like that's how SA1, I think, does this. But anyway, beyond technical, as far as rewards go, the cartridges come with the expansion bridge, so you can hear the audio. And then as you go later down, we also supply extra things like extra controllers and even a Super Nintendo mouse, because there will be an aspect of the game where you can hook up a mouse and control the Derpal, and you can have a buddy help you play the game to attack enemies. Yeah, all kinds of physical goodies, complete box, holographic things. Yeah, that's the super duper Patron Deluxe.
Yeah. So point is, if you guys think this is cool and this is a project you want to support, check out their Kickstarter, consider donating. We've got a link pinned to the top of the chat here, and it's also in the description. You guys are very, very close. You've got 11 days. I think you've got a very good chance of hitting this. So if you guys want to support them, purchase one of the tiers, follow them on Twitter, retweet their content, share this with a friend if you've got any friends that are really into, those retro games. But I would say this is a beautiful project. And if you ever wondered, like, how far can the NES be pushed if someone were to make the most, technically advanced game you could, this is it. So if you want to see that, that dream turn into a reality, support this game.
Also, Chris, go ahead and click on the updates page there. And
sure.
Point out
that is...
it's in the middle there. That this update is
this one.
Yeah, if anyone out there has a real Nintendo and an EverDrive N8 Pro, which is one of these guys, then you can actually download the playable demo yourself and actually play the real game on a real console. We didn't just make a trailer and be like, haha, this is actually real, right? Everything you saw in the trailer can run on real hardware. So we've put out a couple demos, and this is actually the first like 30 minutes of the game that you can
Nice.
run through.
That's really awesome.
Very cool. Well, this is an amazing project.
This is the story of a girl. Sorry.
I think what I wanted to do next is watch the trailer one more time. And then, maybe if anybody has any questions, now would be a good time. So for those of you watching, be sure to give this video a like. If you have any questions about the game, now's your chance. Put it in the chat. We'll answer some questions. But I did want to watch the trailer one more time in case those of you had missed it, because we watched it at the beginning. It is a beautiful trailer. So let me get that queued up again. I'm going to play it on YouTube since I already had it ready to go there. So one moment, guys. We're going to go back to that. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to mute us on our screen because then we're not going to get like weird audio chopping. So give me one moment.
I'll
to
stay
get
quiet.
This. Yeah. Okay, here we go. That was awesome. And Rich had a couple interesting points he wanted to share. Did you want to mention?
So
what you
I
said?
noticed that like we're seeing the there's a few parts of the trailer where we see like the Final Fantasy style traditional like battle menu inside of the game, and then there's also times where we see the characters interacting with monsters on the actual game, a la Chrono Trigger. So are those separate, or is it like Chrono Trigger where you interact with the monsters and then it goes into a battle scene?
So the boss battles are all turn-based, and then
Okay.
the real-time engine is all for the normal mobs, the normal monsters.
Oh, that's really cool. I was like, that's why you saw me talking to Chris when you couldn't hear us. I was like, is it both? Is it different? Like,
Yeah, and it gives an opportunity for these boss battles to be a little more choreographed and perhaps add a minor puzzle element to maybe figure out how to tackle that particular boss, right? Because it's a little more structured, right?
That's really cool. So,
as you know, in Chrono Trigger, there's some bosses you really have to think about and be like, can't do that. Yeah.
So active time battles or turn-based battles for bosses, and then real-time on-map battles for everything else. That's really cool. See, look at that shit.
And there's a stretch goal to have an option in the game to have the turn-based combat for the normal enemies as well, if you just want to do all turn-based.
That's really cool.
All right, I only have really one more question, and that's when you and Jared eventually get to the 64-bit sequel, Latter Dawn, as we've been joking around, and you need some voice acting. I'm available for one low price to voice every character, even the girls.
$1.
Dominic, you're like, don't call us. We'll call you.
I do love voice acting. I was just telling Chris I can't talk about the project publicly, but I did do the voice for a cartoon, that you may or may not see on Netflix next year or something. I can't talk about it, but I do love voice acting. So, hey, you need a voice actor, don't forget your old pal Rich Alvarez.
We'll keep it in mind.
Nah, it's all right.
Depends on if we have voice acting in a game. Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to ask you about was the music in this is really, really awesome. Is it one composer? Is it multiple composers? Could you talk a little bit about?
Already explained that. There's the composer of the game, and then there's the composer of the trailer, Chris.
Is that it? Did Rich summarize it well?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I was so distracted clicking
in the
buttons, I missed
game.
it. Well, for those that missed the earlier part, could you repeat it again?
For any newcomers, this is a video game, and there's music in it. On our Kickstarter, there's actually a sampling of the OST near the bottom, and
maybe I should
on a link to Bandcamp, and you can just listen to a few of the songs that we already have, which we love. And so yeah, the main composer for the game, Angus, has been working in what's called Furnace Tracker to make songs that are compatible with that. We have them using both the normal NES digital channels, the square waves, the bleep loops, and our expansion audio, and mixing them together properly for a very full polyphonic experience. That's why it feels so. That's why some of these songs feel so rich, because there's like 8 channels of audio going on.
So, Rich, are there any songs that would be worth playing that you'd like us to demo?
Yeah, on the it's on the campaign page.
Okay, let's see here. So here we go, campaign.
Campaign.
And then under, is it OST sampler?
Yeah, there you go. Scroll down a little bit. And should be right there. It'll pop up when you.
Oh, here we go. Nice. And then I'm gonna mute, or I'm gonna unmute this, and then I'll mute us.
So yeah, that's the battle theme.
Yeah, that was awesome. Very good. Any other ones that would be worth checking out?
I mean, you can. Yeah, there's 4 available. You can click next on.
Oh, okay. We'll go through those real quick, and then
like 10 seconds
we'll
of each.
Wrap up. Okay, I got.
And anyone can go just listen to this whenever they want.
Oh, sorry, go ahead and say that again.
Oh, I said it turns out there's a website where you can check all of this out.
Yeah. Here we go.
Ooh. That one was really giving me some Chrono Cross vibes on that one. That's pretty good. You see me, I was like, Chris, go back to that one.
Yeah, that was
or
awesome.
Even the when you first meet Ayla, in a Chrono Trigger as well. That sort of ancient times feel.
So I promised we'd answer some questions, so I just wanted to make sure we answer the ones. So Squiggles said, are there any ducks in the game? Squiggles is a big fan of ducks. And I think that Jared answered this and said there could be. Oh, you did too. You said there's chickens. Yeah. Let's see what other ones we got. Oh, here we go. I think we might have talked about this, but inspiration for the music. Any oh, here we go. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of the as Jared already answered there, a lot of the classic JRPGs were a lot of inspiration there.
There are specific examples. Breath of Fire, Final Fantasy 4 and 6, because who plays 5? Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, and Terra.
Very nice. Well, I think that pretty much covers all the main stuff. So to wrap up here, again, if you guys want to support this, please consider going to their Kickstarter. They're getting really close to their goal, and we want to make sure we help them get across the finish line. And then I think the other thing I was going to mention is if for some reason anybody watches this stream, maybe other influencers, streamers, YouTubers, yada, yada, and they want to contact you and interview you as well, or Jared or anybody else on the team, whoever's interested in talking. One more time, the contact info is on your website, right? In fact,
yes,
I should probably just bring that
somethingnerdy.com.
Yeah. So if you guys want to contact them, go to their website. I'm going to pull that back up one more time so anybody can reach out to you guys. So they've got their email right here, contact@somethingnerdy.com. They've also got a Twitter and they've got a Discord. So please reach out if you guys want to chat with them. But overall, I think this is a really cool project. And I mean, 5+ years in the making, like you guys have really worked your butts off. So yeah. That covers all the stuff I wanted to go over. Rich, did you have any final thoughts or questions?
I everything I wanted to know plus more was during this video.
All right, Dominic, final word. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, it's great. I'm glad to be able to talk about some of this. This is my first public-facing interview for this, so thank you for this opportunity. Glad to touch base with you, given all of our history. I'm surprised you even had me on. So
me too.
But yeah, and yeah, follow there. Go to Discord if you have any questions. That's where we're most active. Yeah, and just a small addition to contacting us. If you do go to the Discord, to just contact Jacuthiel, which is Jared. Jacuthiel is his name on there.
Very good. Very good. And you're welcome, Eureka. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap up. And by the way, Dominic, feel free to stay on for a minute after we cut the stream so we can talk, do the afterglow. But I think we're pretty much all set. So, Rich, did you want to do a subscribe voice or something?
No, not for this video. This is about
you
them,
know
not
what?
us. You know,
instead of subscribing,
please kickstart.
Please kickstart. There's multiple reward tiers. No. All right. Well, anyway, we will do our signature sign off. So, with that said, I hope everybody has
one clarification. His actual display name in Discord is Jared. Sorry, I misspoke.
Got it.
Yeah.
All good. Got to make sure we get that right. Yeah. Well, on that note, we hope you all have a wonderful day.
And an even more pleasant tomorrow.
Go support this game. It's going to be awesome. And we'll see you guys next time. We're going to go ahead and end the stream.
Bye!
Peace out.